Supervisor Campbell?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to start off with a quote from Will Rogers, who had a lot of wisdom about elections. But this one is fascinating because it is so appropriate today, for today. More candidates have been defeated after the polls were closed than were ever defeated during the election. Now, isn't that a fascinating comment? Now, that was a comment about improper counting of elections. And I believe what we're trying to do here is to count them properly. But I think the most important thing to me is, as people have said, what is the will of the voters? Trung Nguyen did honorably delay his being sworn in until a recount was called. That's certainly an important consideration. The fact that if we swore in Janet Nguyen today, she would lose her Garden Grove seat. Now, if there wasn't an uncertainty about this election, we'd be swearing her in and there'd be 3 people in Garden Grove tonight. So that's, you know, the way that life goes on. But there is an uncertainty about this, and we would be taking an elected official out of her office and not allowing her to go on if we did that. There's been discussion by the attorneys, specifically representing Trung. There are matters that I would call form over substance. Now, I understand the law is very concerned about form, but the issues of should you have had one team counting all the ballots instead of 2 teams, the issue of should we go back and count all of the paper ballots versus the electronic ballots. A court of law can decide that, and it's important to have the form proper. But the substance of the matter is, what did the voters want to do? Who voted for whom? And people speaking for both Janet and Trung have said there were excluded ballots that voted for each of the candidates. Now, Mr. Registrar of Voters, when you sent out the absentee instructions, included in those instructions were, your ballot will remain secret. Do not sign or place your initials on your ballot, even if you make a change. Is that the only warning that people have, that they shouldn't put flowers, put other remarks or anything else on the ballot?
Yes, sir, from our office, that's correct.
Okay. Are they told that if they do, their ballot will be invalidated?
No.
Now, did you write this instruction, or did you get this from the Secretary of State?
I did not personally write those instructions. Those are instructions that were written prior to my arrival.
Okay, so they could be from the Secretary of State, they could be something that has been used by our Registrar of Voters office for quite a while.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's where my concern is, because 15154 of the Elections Code is the controlling paragraph here, and it says that makes them identifiable. Well, initials would certainly make them identifiable, and that's what people were warned not to do. But we never said, don't make a flower, don't write something else on your ballot. So it's very hard for me to sit here and say, exclude those. Now, I know you've got guidelines from the Secretary of State that go beyond what the law is and says that. But that's the beauty of our system. We have a court that will then determine whether those instructions from an administrative agency are the proper interpretation of the law. And so somebody has asserted that they will challenge this under the law, and if that challenge stands up, there's going to be more votes counted. And somebody's going to win, or somebody's going to say, no, the law really did mean you shouldn't do all of this, and no, you don't have to alert voters that they will be lose their ballot if they don't, if they mark them up. I think in the future we should make it very clear as to what is the risk of marking on a ballot for any voter, because I just find it tragic that we're excluding votes without giving the people the warning of that. That's my biggest concern here, is to determine what the will of the voters is. And When I know what that is, and I know you've certified it under the guidelines that you followed consistent with the Secretary of State, I'm just wondering if a court of law will find that those guidelines are proper. So I'm fully prepared to put this off at this moment until it is resolved and we truly honor the will of the voters.